Elisabeth I was born on September 7, 1533 in Greenwich, which is known as the starting point of time or the zero meridian. Her father was Henry VIII and her mother was famous Anne Boleyn. Elizabeth had lived a very hard time from the day she was born to the day she became the Queen of England and Ireland. The challenges has begun with her birth. When she was born, her skin was white and it was believed that she was a ghost, so she was asked to be killed, and then she was saved from being killed as a result of her mother's efforts. When Elizabeth was 3, her mother Anne Boleyn was executed, accusing of having incestuous relationships. With this execution, Elizabeth lost her right to the throne. Her ruling continued until 24th March 1603, the day she died. Elizabeth I, whose period was called the Golden Age, was also called Virgin Queen. Because Elizabeth never married and she unanswered to marriage proposals and pressures of getting married. But why didn't Queen Elizabeth marry? Was there something she was hiding or avoiding? First of all, her father's betrayal of her mother may have made Elizabeth unreliable to men. King Henry VIII accused Anne Boleyn's mother of incest and executed her. As it was mentioned at first, Elizabeth was only 3 when her mother was executed. This may have diminished Elizabeth's confidence in her father and therefore in all men. And so Elizabeth may have escaped marriage. In addition, Elizabeth held a great power in her hand. She may have stayed away from marriage due to the fact that she thought that the man who wanted to marry her wanted the power of the throne, and that could have very bad consequences for England.
According to the second theory, Queen Elizabeth was soaked in love with her childhood friend Robert Dudley. But Robert was married, and it wouldn't have been acceptable to the British community to take Elizabeth away from his wife. It wasn't empty to the Queen whether it was Robert's love or the power he would obtain. One day, Robert's wife falls down the stairs and dies. Although this death was announced as an accident, many people thought that Robert had intentionally killed his wife to marry the Queen. Hearing the rumors, Elizabeth's commanders and prominent men told Elizabeth that if she married Robert, trust in society would be lost and it would be better for the country not to marry. As a result, we might assume that Elizabeth would have said that if I don't marry Robert, I will never marry anyone, and Queen Elizabeth may have left the marriage out of her life. However, years later, a young man who introduced himself as Arthur Dudley claimed that he was the illegitimate child of Elizabeth I and Robert Dudley. Hence, this claim was immediately covered up and the incident was forgotten. Furthermore, if this claim is true, the Virgin Queen of England is unfortunately not a virgin.
According to another theory, Elizabeth I was not a woman but a man. The theory is primarily based on a folkloric story called the Beazley story. According to the story, at a time when Elizabeth was 4 or 5 years old, epidemics were all around in London. Since King Henry sent Princess Elizabeth to a mansion in the town of Beazley 1 or 2 hours away from London, little Elizabeth, however, will be infected with the disease virus before coming to Beazley soon after she gets sick and dies. This death horrified the servants who are responsible for the care of Elizabeth. Owing to their fears of King Henry, the servants found a child who is very similar to Elizabeth, instead of saying that Elizabeth is dead. Although there was a problem, the child was a boy. The servants dressed this boy like a girl and taught him to act like a princess. Considering King Henry's passion for having a son, he may not have noticed this change in his daughter. In addition to this story, another claim that Elizabeth may be a man is that her body, her posture, her masculine properties. It was rumored that not only her posture but also her behaviors had masculine characteristics. Finally, the fact that Elizabeth always wore clothes covering her neck brings to mind the question that was she hiding the Adam's diamond? The last story put forward is really interesting. According to the theory, Queen Elizabeth is not a man, but not a exactly woman, hence she could be hermaphrodited. Realizing this situation in her preceded age, Elizabeth might have kept this as a secret, since in England in those years such a situation could lead to accusations of witchcraft and to be burned to death. Thus, although any of these theories have not been proven to be true, they have been extremely successful in keeping as a secrets. However, the only fact that cannot be denied is that Queen Elizabeth was one of the most powerful female leaders in England and the world.